Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Carl from Planet 40k, and today we'll be going over the custom dynasty options within the new 9th edition Necron Codex. Okay, so most codexes are now putting together a customizable faction within the codex, and in the Necron Codex it's been named the Ancient Dynasties, although in this book it works a little bit different. So there are two categories. The first is called Dynastic Traditions, and the second is called Circumstances of the Awakening. In order to create a custom dynasty code, you will be required to select one option from both of these categories to create your code. So the lore behind this is your dynastic tradition is basically where your original code was before your Necron dynasty went into its deep sleep. Then the Circumstances of the Awakening is how they've been altered after being in slumber for all those years. Okay, so let's begin with the dynastic traditions. There are 12 options available here, and you need to select one and only one of these options. Okay, the first one, Eternal Conquerors. So effectively this is objective secured on all your units, and if they've already got objective secured, then each model counts as 2 models. So the Nihilak dynasty actually already has part of their code, and this one's decent as your Immortals and your Warriors already have objective secured, so they'll count as 2 models instead of 1 when contesting an objective. And not only that, the rest of your force now gains objective secured. And in this edition, objectives are key. The second one, Pitiless Hunters. Now you can rapid fire at full range if your infantry remains stationary in the movement phase. So this is effectively bolter discipline for us Necrons. If you can get a warrior blob on an objective for the game, they won't need to move much, so they'll be firing at full range with double shots. This can be brutal, especially paired with abilities such as My Will Be Done, which gives them +1 to hit. Okay, so the third one, Superior Artisans. You can reroll 1 wound roll per unit when you're shooting or fighting. So this is okay. It looks underwhelming at first, but it's basically a command reroll for every unit every turn when you're wounding. It's more effective on stronger weapons, but even from basic guns it still assists you with chipping away at your enemy. So the next one is Wreathed. Enemies excluding vehicles that are within 1 inch of your models, they are a -1 to their toughness. So this is kind of crazy. So any enemy unit that's in combat with your units, obviously not vehicles, they'll be getting -1 toughness. This is a huge swing for your dice. Imagine being in combat with a Canoptic Wraiths using your claws at strength 6 versus toughness 4 marines, but those marines are now toughness 3. So you're basically wounded on 2s. And those claws have got a -2 AP and 2 damage, so that's pretty brutal. I bet there's lots of other combos you can come up with these, so I'm going to keep my eye out on this one. Number 5, Immovable Phalanx. If your infantry don't move, they will gain a +1 to their save. I'm not as keen on this one. I mean, it's okay defending objectives and such, but in this edition, it's very objective based, and you need to be moving your guys to them. So you won't be making the most out of this ability in every battle round for every unit. Also, your opponent can just ignore the units that stayed still and pick off the ones that are trying to get towards the new objectives. Number 6, Unyielding, is basically a 6-up invuln save. This one's nice. The Nefric Dynasty has this as standard. So if you do like this one but don't like the other ability with Nefrics, which are giving the auto advance of a 6 inch, then you can just take this and choose something else. This may make the Nefric Dynasty a little bit redundant, but if you wanted it for the invuln, but they've still got their speed, I suppose. So next one, Contemptuous of the Codes. Attacks versus any characters are +1 to hit. Another one here I'm not overly keen on. Yes, it's nice versus characters, but how often are you going to be attacking a character throughout the game? I think there's just better options here. Next one in the line is Unmerciful Horde. You basically reroll your morale tests. Another one I'm not that keen on. If you're going to fail a morale test due to loss of a lot of models, then you're most likely going to fail it regardless. And if you fail it because of real bad luck, then you're not really going to lose that many models with the new combat attrition system anyway. Worst case scenario is you can use the stratagem Insane Bravery from the core rulebook and just auto pass, so I'm not that keen. Number 9, Masters of the Martial. So whether you're shooting or fighting with a unit, you can reroll 1 attack. So this one's okay. Similar to the Superior Artisan options where you could do the same but with the wounds. I think I prefer to do it with the wounds rather than the hits. But then again, if you're using Tesla, you've got a better chance of exploding 6s, so it depends on your build. Number 10, Butchers. So it's +1 to your charge roll. This is nice if you're playing a close combat orientated Necron army. Also has good synergy with your new Ophidian Destroyers that are deep striking in. So a good option. Next one is Severed. So your Command Protocols aura, which is 6 inches from any of your characters, it basically gets increased to a 9 inch. It's a little bit difficult to gauge this one right now, so I'll need to play a few games to see if I could have used this or not. I'd imagine it was a quite nice buff. Vassal of Kingdom. So this is basically your successor tactics. You pick one of the main dynasty codes. So next we've got the Circumstances of Awakening. So you need to pick one of these options to pair with the one that you've just picked. So the first one is Ancient Stir, which is +1 to movement to Canoptic units. Also piling and consolidation moves are 4 inch. Obviously this is list dependent, which is great for your Canoptic lists. Next one, Arise Against the Interlopers. Each melee attack versus infantry or bikers that hit on a 6+ auto wound. Not really fussed about this one. Our melee units are pretty good on their own. They don't really need this additional buff, so I probably wouldn't choose this. Next one is Healthy Paranoia. It's a +3 inch to your range weapons, but not pistols. This basically was one of the Mephrit Dynasty Codes options. So if you did like the option but weren't keen on the other one, which is a -1 AP at half range, then you could pick this and something else from the Traditions list. Okay, number 4, Relentless Expansion. Before the battle begins, you can effectively move your entire army 6 inches. This is amazing. So if you're going first, it's effectively a double move towards any objectives or towards your enemy. And it also can improve your rapid fire potential as well. And if you're not going first, you can simply move into cover or into terrain, move out of way, move out of range. Essentially it's a scout move, but it's for your whole army, so I think you're going to see this quite a lot. The next one's also another great one, Isolation. So if you're firing a rapid fire gun within 12 inches, it is +1 strength. So your warrior reapers that were strength 5 are now strength 6 when they're within 12 inches. And if you can also get them rapid firing too, that's crazy. I mean, even the Gorse Flayers are now strength 5 within 12 inches, so you'll be wounding your average marines on 3s with those. Number 6, Warrior Nobles. Each time a noble makes a melee attack, reroll 1s to hit and to wound. This one's a bit bland, as you're only really giving this buff to a few models in your whole army, so I'd not really bother with it. And the close combat orientated noble models within the codex are pretty good, so they're not going to need it. And the last one, Interplanetary Invaders. So vehicle units can shoot while falling back, but it's at a -1 to hit. Or they don't suffer the -1 to hit while they're shooting in combat. So this looks great at first, it's actually not so great. So the one everybody's thinking about here is the Doomsday Arc. But if you're falling back, then you've effectively moved. So if you want to be using the high-powered version of the weapon, you need to remain stationary, so you can't. And you also can't use it in combat because it's got the blast keyword. So this only really affects its low-powered version, which is still okay, but it's just worth noting that you're not going to be using the high-powered version with this ability. Okay, so that's all the awakening options. There's going to be quite a few different combos here. Let me know in the comments if you think you've spotted a crazy combo. It can also relate to other aspects of the codex, such as relics or warlord traits, so let me know what you come up with. I'll be reading all the comments and I'll be pinning the best comments to the top of the comments board. So we will be covering all aspects of this codex from top to bottom, so hit that subscribe button to ensure our videos appear in your subs box. Like the video to support the channel, and if you would like to support the channel even further, we do have a Patreon service which has just gone live last week. The link's in the description, head over to that, browse our exclusive benefits for our Patreon, and thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.